friends, it's Kim here from Hancock Homestead and Gardens, and today I want to talk to you about what it is that determines whether you are a homesteader or not. Okay, I've heard some controversy on this lately, and I hope that with this little talk I can maybe give some information about that. And the first thing I'm going to tell you are the definitions of a homestead and homesteader out of the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Okay, I want to read these officially from the dictionary so that you will know I'm not just making this up off the top of my head. So, a homestead is the home and adjoining land with any buildings that is occupied, usually by a family, as its principal residence. It also means a tract of land acquired from the U.S. public lands by filing a record and living on and cultivating that tract of land. Now that is part of our history. I'm not sure that they do that anymore, but we used to have what was called the Homestead Act. And when we were a young United States and we were trying to get people to expand to the West, the United States would offer up tracts of land, usually about 80 acres in a tract, to anyone that was willing to move to that piece of land and live on it for 5 years. And they would have to meet certain regulations as to crops to grow or trees to grow. And if they could live on that land for 5 years and meet the government's requirements, then that land was given to them free. Okay, just for the cost of filing. I think they had to pay a small filing cost, but you know, that was nothing compared to land. So that was part of our history. But we still have homesteaders today. Okay, we have people living in a home with adjoining lands that have outbuildings. Okay, and they're occupied by the family. Okay, now, let me read you the definition of a farm, because some people go, well, what's the difference between a homestead and a farm? Okay, well, this is the difference. Okay, so here's the definition for a farm. A piece of land used for growing crops or raising animals, or an area of water where fish are grown. Okay? Now, a homestead, the animals and the crops that are grown and raised on a homestead are usually for personal use. Okay? Yes, you may sell some of your fruits and vegetables at the farmer's market to bring in a little bit of income. Okay? You may sow for other people to bring in a little bit of income. However, for a farm, its primary reason for growing crops and raising animals is to sell, is for a business aspect, okay? To bring in large sums of income. It is a business, okay? So homesteads are more for personal use, and farms are more for a business type usage. Now, here's the thing, and this is where I've actually had people tell me, oh, you're not a homesteader, you're a farmer, okay? And I have to say, I'm both, or we're both, because we live on 5 acres here that we use for personal use, okay? We have an orchard that we use for personal use. We have chickens that we use for personal use. We grow a vegetable garden that we use for personal use, okay? We store and can our foods, our apples, you know, so we do use our homestead as homesteaders for personal use. We are also farmers in the fact that The other 155 acres, John runs as a business, okay? He used to grow the crops, raise the cattle or hogs, and he would sell those things to bring in a large source of income as a business. So, now that we're retired, we still use the tract of land as a business because we rent it out. So, we are both homesteaders and farmers, okay? Now, you can be a homesteader without being a farmer. And you can be a farmer without being a homesteader. There are lots of large corporation farms that are out there growing these crops or raising these animals that have no desire of using any of that land for personal usage, okay? And there are lots of homesteaders out there that live on smaller tracts of land and they just use it for their own personal use. Now, here's the thing. Here's where I'm going to end my 2 cents, okay? Just like we have been judged as to whether we're homesteaders because of the size of land that we occupy, I just recently had a friend criticized for not being a homesteader because her land was too small. It wasn't in the country. And I don't know, I just think that that is just so wrong for people to judge others based on size. Homesteading is a lifestyle that you can choose to live anywhere, okay? Now, this lifestyle usually has some, I don't know, criteria that goes along with it, okay? Homesteading usually means that you are going to try to be self-sufficient. You are going to try to raise your own food. You are going to try to raise your own animals for meat, or grow your own vegetables for food, or have an orchard for fruit. So that's, you know, one of the criteria will be that you're going to be self-sufficient in your food usage, that you're going to try to come up with your own methods of food, okay? It could also mean that you are going to become self-sufficient by your clothing, by making your own clothes through sewing or crocheting or knitting or weaving. Okay, that's, you know, that might be another criteria. Now, do you have to meet all of these criteria? No, you don't. You know, I mean, no one's good at everything. So there are things that you may have to go out and buy, or there are things that you may have to barter for. Homesteaders are really good at bartering with others in their community. Okay, so when I look at my friend's channel, I go, by all means, she was a homesteader. Yes, she lived on a small community lot in town, but she had a home. She had a garage, or I should say they had a garage that they were using as a workshop. They had a chicken house. They had a duck house. They were growing vegetables in raised beds. Okay? They were meeting the criteria of homesteading and being homesteaders. And for her to be trolled and for them to say, oh, well, you're not a homesteader, I'm just like, they need to look up the definition and think about that, because she was meeting the criteria for being a homesteader. And that's just like us. When people say, oh, you're not a homesteader, you're a farmer. We're both. We are homesteaders and farmers. 5 acres of our land we use for homesteading practices. Okay? All right. Well, hope this didn't sound too preachy. I didn't want to be preachy, but, you know, I guess I'm just so tired of this world judging each other so harshly. Because if we were all true homesteaders, we would be supporting each other, not trying to tear each other down. You know, when the term homesteader and homesteading came about, when all these people were moving out west to take up these pieces of land that were not developed at all, they had to depend on each other for life, okay, for survival. If you did not learn to get along with your neighboring homesteaders, you may not make it through that winter. You may not make it through those 5 years. And they had to work together. Now, true, nowadays, we don't really have that, that need of having to depend on other people for survival, okay? Because, I mean, we're surrounded by society. We're surrounded by technology that allows us to survive without others. But I just feel like that if you have that true homesteading spirit in your heart, then you're going to be out there building up homesteaders, just like our ancestors did, not tearing them down. And yeah, so those are my tips and tricks for this Tuesday, is what determines if you are a homesteader. And if you have any comments as to what you think determines homesteader versus farmer or the normal Joe, then please leave them in the comments below, because I would love to hear you know, what other people think. But if you're going to go by legal definitions, there you have them. I just gave them to you. All right. Well, this is Kim from Hancock Homestead Garden saying, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you want to know more about our homestead and what we do on it, please subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye for now.